Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. And yes, it is a shine out loud moment. We are having an out of season show. Oh my God, I am so excited. And yes, you know who this is. You may have not seen a lot of me, but this is Liliana Bogo. I am interviewing a woman who decided that enough is enough. I'm interviewing a woman who decided that art and diversity is a conversation to be put on the table, not just for a moment, not because it's a fad, not because it's a thing to do, but because we have great artists. And so we are going to be speaking to Alice Gbelia. Alice, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this.
You are so welcome. So, you are a woman that I'm really excited to talk about because you have done something that says African art by diverse artists should not be hidden. And you created a website and your first online platform to sell this art. Please tell us a bit more about your platform.
Okay, so the platform can be found at ayokadeco.com. And the name Ayoka derives from my native language. I'm originally from the Ivory Coast. And Ayoka means welcome, hi, welcome. So I chose that name for the platform because I wanted people to find art that they will be happy to set in their home. So I had the idea for the platform when I was looking for art, for myself,
Sure.
for things to put on my walls. And I know I didn't have a big budget. So I had a very precise idea of what I wanted because I'm Black and I'm African. So I wanted art that represented those two sides of me. So I started looking online because I shop mainly online. And the first hurdle was that I didn't even know how to look for it. So I just, Googled African art. And then I saw some things that were so cliche, like the elephant in the savannah and the baobabs and the sunsets. And, it's fine that some people like that type of art, but it wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for something more modern and more contemporary. And then on Instagram, I started following some artists, who are doing so many great things. But then second hurdle, it was very difficult to buy from them because some of them just, showing the art, but not selling it. And for others, you had to send an email and it was just too complicated. So I thought about, it would be really great to have a platform where I can just go, find this type of art, just put it in my basket and buy it.
Yeah.
So I started looking for that platform, but then it didn't exist. And this gave me the idea to just create it myself.
Okay, so you created this platform out of your own frustration. And, we keep talking about why art is important and why representation is important. Why did you think that it didn't exist? Why do you think that nobody else was actually pulling this art together? Nobody else was actually saying, let's put Black art or African art in the focus.
Okay, so what existed before were platforms that just showcase the art. They were saying, okay, this is an amazing artist, for example, from Zambia, and this is art. But what was always missing was the link to kind of buy it. And I think it's something that I've observed because I've always been interested in culture and how it's commercialized, that we're really happy to showcase things and show how great people are. But I think that it's not enough to just, send a like to an artist. The best way to show support for an artist is to buy from them. And that's the link that was missing. So I think there was a movement where you were starting to see more art by Black people, but either it was very elitist or they were just showing it and not really thinking that people actually would like to own it and buy from it. So I think that's why I came in. I was kind of the missing link is, okay, if you like it, then just buy it. It can be yours and it can be affordable.
You've actually just touched on something when you say that there were in some cases that it's either put in a position where it's very elitist or you can't buy it. So it's two spectrums. And are we looking at it when we look at Black art, especially our art? There's this idea that art is not for the Black consumer.
Well, actually, I think there's a lot of, there are people who've decided that a lot of things are not for us, that decided that we don't really read that much, so we don't need, to promote Black authors. We don't like art that much, so there's no point of, selling art to us. So, and I think that's where entrepreneurs like me, who are not part of the elite, because I'm not part of the art institution. I came at it really from a user point. I like nice things, and I want nice things in my home. And I think it's people like me who come from a different angle and who are kind of because I am the user, I'm the consumer. So I come from this angle and I say, no, actually, there are people who look like me and who want to have those nice things in their homes. It's just that they cannot find it. So it's kind of vicious circle, because they think we're not buying because we don't want it. No, we're not buying because we don't know where to find it. So
Okay.
we need to bring a solution.
So, and that's true, but, there's this idea, and I like the fact that, you are talking about art is for us, and that, you were talking about this whole feeling like there is an exclusion, but do you think that we also exclude ourselves? Because, I've had conversation when I talk to people about, oh, I'm going to see this play or that play, and they're like, well, I don't do that. It's not what Black people do. It's not what people of color do. Do you think that we also kind of buy into that idea and then we exclude ourselves?
Oh yeah, totally. Because I think that some activities, like going to see plays, going to see art exhibition, going to talks, is kind of seen as bougie. So we kind of exclude ourselves from those spaces. And I think that because we're not used to going to those places, we think that we're not going to be welcome. So for me, for example, my awakening came when I moved from France to London. Because before going to London, I had never seen a play in my life. Because in my mind, a play was just Shakespeare. I didn't know there were like modern Black playwrights doing things. Then I went to London and I saw a play by Kwame Arma. Sorry if I mispronounce his name. But I was just curious. I was like, oh my God, there's a Ghanaian playwright who has a play in the West Side. I have to go to it. And then I went and I realized that there were not a lot of people like me, but there were a few. So that kind of encouraged me to go to more and more of these events. And it's the same thing for art. Like before, I think I started being interested in art maybe 4 or 5 years ago, because I went to, was it, or maybe like 8, 9 years ago, I don't remember the years, but there was this great thing in London called the Double Club. So it was like a restaurant with a bar, and it was mixed with Congolese culture and, Western culture. And I went there and they had this huge mural of a Congolese artist. And
Okay.
it was the first time that I saw art in a cool place. So that got me interested in art. So we do exclude ourselves from those places, and we need to find a way into them. And I think also it's the responsibility of these institutions to find a way to lure us in. They should converse with us and tell us, oh, we're not just what you think we are. We also have some things that you may like. So it's like a double conversation that needs to be had.
You know what? I actually agree. There is that double conversation, because we can't leave that conversation alone for the institutions to have. We have to stand up and say, well, we want to see this. And let's welcome Stella and Sierra to the call. And welcome, ladies. If you have any question, drop it in the chat. We will love to hear from you. And so, looking at your work, and from perspective of, you're coming at it from the end user perspective. That's something very important, because when sometimes you look at art, especially if it's being curated by someone else, you're thinking, I wouldn't want this for me. Mm-hmm. So how important is it for us to be able to curate our own stories, whether it's art, whether it's music? How important in your mind, based on the work that you're doing now, is it that we have to start curating our stories?
For the very simple reason that if we leave it to somebody else, they have their own preconceived ideas of who we are. For example, in terms of art, there's a dichotomy. Like African art has always been considered as primitive, because that's how they classified it, because they didn't know it. But yet when they consider it primitive on one hand, on the other side, they kind of get influenced by it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like more modern Black art, it's been like classified as hip hop or urban art, so something that doesn't have any value. So the danger is that when you let somebody else tell your story, they just project their own preconceived ideas on your story. And when you take back the narrative, you're able to show what you really are. Like, for example, if you look at the art in our website, we have a lot of female artists who do a lot of portraits. And the portraits they do kind of elevate Black hair, because it's quite a sensitive topic in the community. Yeah. So the portrait in our side, you have women with Afro hair, with like dreadlocks, with wearing a turban, and they do it in a way that's so poetic and so beautiful that it can only come from a Black artist, because it's them, It's represent their story. So that's what I like in the fact that it's me, a Black woman, who has this platform, because I can see what's true and what's not true. When they do a I can see the intention behind it. I can see they're trying to elevate us and portray us in a positive light. And that's what's very important to me. And I think that's what Black curators bring to the table, is that we see the art as we're trying to show a narrative where we're being presented as who we are, as kings, as queens, as human beings, as vulnerable. And we have an eye that no one else from outside this community can have.
Okay, so you've mentioned something about representation and how we are represented, and there's an undervaluation when it comes to the art. So it's either the primitive art or it's either seen as hip hop. And when you now start classing that hip hop, it takes away value. And so that's actually very important, because we need to start making sure that we label it correctly. So here's my other question, and this is a question for you as a business owner. How much support have you had from our community regarding your art?
Oh my God, I've had great support. Well, first of all, I've had great support from my friends, my immediate friends. They're like my cheerleaders. They're the ones I consult when I have a question about the business. Even when I find an artist and I'm not sure, I send them the link. So I've had great support on that side. And recently we did a market event in London, which was our first one.
Mm-hmm.
And the response was just amazing. So we had people just stopping, seeing our phone cases, the t-shirt, the art, and saying, oh my God, I've never seen this. So they've seen art in museum, but never seen like art that they could own right away. That was so great. And also one thing that I hadn't anticipated is the reaction of teenagers and children.
Mm-hmm.
So children just stopping and just bringing along their parents because they had never seen this. I had teenage girls just playing with the phone cases and begging their parents to buy them because they had never seen that in Topshop or other places that they usually frequent. So the response for the community has been great, even from the media. I have great articles, and people are just saying that it's essential and that what I'm doing is great. And they see that it's beyond the products that we're selling. It's really the intention behind it. It's like showing Black people in all their diversity and in very positive images.
Great. So, and we need to start doing more and more. Now, you spoke about the website. What's the link to the website? Because let's be very, very honest. Our main goal is to get people going to the website and understanding why they need your art and why we need to start connecting with the artists that you have. Before we do that, I have one more question. And the question is about cost and pricing. Because we talk about affordability. And there's a thing that we do when we look at affordability, especially when in our community, we are quite happy to pay for the Louboutins and the Manolo Blahniks and all of that. We're quite happy to put our money down on those things. But when we now look at a creator within our community and they produce a piece of art or a piece of anything they have produced, and then we say, well, it's nice, but isn't it a bit expensive? Couldn't I have it for less? Isn't it possible? Because we're in the same community, can I get it for less? Let's talk about this idea that we undervalue our own products.
Oh, this is so true. But there's this saying that says familiarity breeds contempt, right? So I think that when we see something from our own community, it's because, Black people all over the world, we have kind of that thing that we feel solidary. Is that a word even? Black nod, like when we meet another person from the Black community, whether they're African or American, that's just, it's recognition. Yeah. So I think that because of that, we just think we're too familiar to each other. So when you see, like, as a Black person, you see an art created by a Black artist, it's almost like it's done by your cousin. So you're thinking, oh, I could do that, or someone could do that. So we do tend to undervalue our own products. And I think it's a real shame. So when I was pricing the products on the website, the platform, I wanted it to be affordable, but at the same time, I'm a business, and I need to make a profit. And also, the way the business model works is that on each sale, I pay an artist. So the artist who made the art. So for me, it's really important that I'm able to give them a good rate. Because there are other websites doing the same model and they tend to pay like pennies to the artist. And to me, I didn't want that. So I tried to get to the point where it's affordable for the user, but at the same time, it gives it pays the artists because they created this art and they spent hours and hours on them. And also for them getting money, it's not even about the money. It's just showing them that what they do is valuable and people value it and are ready to pay for it. So I think I found a good, balance. And so far, I have to say that I haven't had the reaction that people are telling me that it's too expensive. I've had people, buyers coming to the site and buying several articles, and spending hundreds of pounds. So, and I think that the ones who can see the value in what we're trying to do would pay for it.
I absolutely agree. But I think there is something to be said about it is the money.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be clear. It is the money. This idea that artists need to be struggling and starving, especially in the community, we need to stop selling that story. That's another narrative we need to stop selling, that if you're doing this, you're doing it for the love of the art. They got to eat too. And a canvas costs money.
Yeah, and that's something that I often say, that it's great to like, an illustration from an artist on the social media, but what's even better is to buy from them, and also in our community, in general, art is not valued. So, I interview all the artists that are on the platform, and some tell me that in their own country, like for example, we have an Angolan artist called Artista Amarela. She tells me there's no art scene in Angola because people don't see the value in that. And it's the same in their families. We both African, you cannot go to your parent and say, I'm going to study art. I'm going to be artist. They will be like, you're mad. So one of the things that I hope to do in the long term is just to show that, being an artist is valuable. There are ways to make money on it. There are ways to live out of your art if you're really good enough, if you're ready to put in the work, and if also if you have the opportunities. So it's the other side of the platform. So for me, paying the artist a fair price was like tantamount. That's why I didn't want to do a platform to just showcase the art. In my mind, it was clear that it was going to be commercial, because at some point you need to put your hands in your pocket and you need to put your money where your mouth is.
Cool. Alice, and we're talking about this now, and I'm going to keep going back to this because there are a few times when you hear of platforms that are being run and by, there's another platform, and I won't mention it by name, and they got other artists and other creators to come in. And, because the idea is, the narrative there is, we cannot work together successfully without taking advantage of somebody, without things falling apart. And so how do you ensure that your artists are not just, you've made it your mission that your artists are paid fairly, but how do you ensure the sustainability of the platform? Because that's the thing that I noticed that we are not doing, is creating things that are sustainable.
Yeah, well, in terms of my own platform is, first of all, it's so very new. So right now I'm trying, the focus really is mainly to get those sales each month, each week. So that's what I'm really trying to work at. So it means that you have to do a lot of marketing. You need to do a lot of outreach. So that's why I'm investing my money. And the other thing is, I'm a solo founder, so I created it by myself. But the thing is, I don't have all the skills. There are some that I'm not very good at. So what I'm starting doing is investing in hiring professionals. Like I'm working with a PR professional, I'm working with a marketing professional, because I know that this is just beyond me. If I try to just make it all by myself and try to not spend too much, then this platform could die. So that's the short term. The short term is to get surrounded by professionals who can do the marketing better than I can. The second one is to think long term. Because, when you're doing a business, you might start with an idea, but you're not sure how it's going to evolve and what's going to work. So what I do, I look at the numbers very closely, like which products are selling, which ones are not, which are the things that my customers are asking me that I'm not providing yet. So I'm just, accumulating all this data, and I'm making decisions based on that. So I know that, for example, in a couple of months, I'm going to make a decision about the product range, and I'm going to cut off the ones that don't sell and kind of focus my energy on what sells. So that's midterm. And long term is like, think about what else this platform could be beyond just selling products. So for example, I've been approached by organizations and curators wanting to work with my artists, directly, to commission them for work. So I see now that there's an interest in that. So if maybe the platform doesn't work, could there be interest in maybe building an agency where I connect all these artists with other opportunities? So I think you need to kind of think long term and try and innovate and always have a plan B. Because if plan A doesn't work, it doesn't mean that the business has to die. You need to be able to pivot and transform. And I think that's where longevity is. When you look at brands like big brands like Sony and Samsung, where they are today has nothing to do where they started. So
Exactly.
what they're able to do is read the market, innovate, and respond to it. And that's what I hope to be doing with Ayoka.
Okay, listen, I love that. And also you touched on the fact that you're a solopreneur, you're a woman breaking into the art industry. So and you're a Black woman. So you are working on a lot of different angles here. And so let's just kind of take it apart. Being a Black woman in the art industry, what are the challenges that you've faced and what are the key steps to overcome them?
Okay, well, first of all, let me say that I'm not really into the art world because I know some people who are really into that, doing great work. For me, it's more, what I'm doing is more a big commercial. So the challenges I've faced as a Black woman, I would say as a woman first, is that we're not taking that seriously because, you know, when I was starting and just explaining my business, people treated it like a hobby. You know, and I think it's something that women have to face a lot. They always think that, oh, it's just a hobby, or it's a small lifestyle business, and don't really think that, no, actually I have ambitions of making it this as big as it can be. So all preconceived ideas, you kind of have to not internalize them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's something that I'm quite good at because I don't really care that much what people think. I'm like, okay, you might think that I'm small, but I'm doing my thing, you know. And the other thing is challenges as a Black woman is, how can I say that? Because, you know, I evolve mainly in Black circle, even though I'm living in Switzerland. So I've never really seen me being a Black woman as an obstacle. So, and also because what I do is always linked to my culture, to African culture, to Black pop culture. So actually being Black in what I do is an advantage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, you know, that's actually quite, you know, important that you see it as an advantage because there's so many stories around the fact that, oh, you're a woman, so you're Black, so there's so many disadvantages. And the challenges will always face challenges, whether, you know, wherever we are in whatever industry. My other question I'll ask is, how do you personally recover from setbacks?
How do I recover from setbacks? Oh, that's a good one. I think what I'm good at is I'm very good at relativizing. Oh my God, sorry for my English. Sometimes I just invent words. Like I know
relativizing is a word now. Let's relate.
Yeah, it is a word.
Talk to me.
I know that, you know, everything is relative. So if I have a setback on Monday, I know that on Wednesday I might get a win. You know, so I tend not to dwell on things. And I also went into this entrepreneurship journey knowing that it was going to be hard. So I was expecting hardship. I was expecting failure. So when it happens, it's never really a surprise. So when it happens, I'm like, okay, how can I make sure that it doesn't happen again? Because if the same thing happens 3 times, then I'm going to ask myself some questions. But if it happens one time, I'm like, okay, you know, you're new to this anyway. Like everything you're doing is totally new. So you're constantly learning. So for me, as long as I can learn from that setback, then it's fine. And what I do also is that I have entrepreneur diary. So it's not a personal one. It's that every day I write down what happened in the business, what I've done. So that's how I learn my lessons. So I write the failures and I also write the wins and I try to learn from both. So I'm like, you know, you cannot progress without failure. You cannot progress without setback. What matters that as long as you know that you're moving forward and that you're learning from it, then it's fine.
Okay. You know what? That actually is a very, very powerful answer. And yes, let's all relativize because we need to. You know, what could I say? Listen, it's a perfect word. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, you know, we need to be able to persevere and bounce back because business is hard and it's going to be hard. So, you know, I know you're just at the start of the journey with this business, but what is your vision in terms of Ayoka? Where do you want to take it in terms of when you looking back at your legacy? What do you want it to be?
Well, I want it to be a lifestyle brand because when I look at the landscape of Black businesses, I see a lot of great things, you know, happening in beauty and hair and fashion. But I want my brand to be about lifestyle, about something that's not necessarily connecting to Black culture, but it's still working. So
Right.
in terms of the platform right now, we're selling art prints and the t-shirts and the phone cases. But I want to introduce more products, and I want people to go to that platform to find lifestyle object that will make their home nicer, that will make the outfit nicer, all designed by Black artists. So that's really the vision. I want to be maybe like the Habitat, the Black Habitat, or the Black IKEA. Yes, something like that.
I
So
like that.
you go there, it's all designed by great Black artists. And if you're Black, you find that, that link to Black culture. If you're African, you find a little bit of your heritage. If you're not Black, you go because it's different and it's kind of a way for you to discover that culture. So that's what I want the brand to be, like an entry point into the Black culture for those who are not familiar with it, and kind of a home for those who are familiar with it.
Okay, I like that. Now, I'm going to ask you an unfair question. It is a very unfair question, but out of all your pieces that has site, which is your favorite?
Oh my God, I knew this question was gonna come. They're all my babies, but in terms of the artist, which one is my favorite? You know what? I think my favorite one is actually not the most popular, but he's my favorite. It's a Nigerian artist called Adekunle Adeleke.
Okay.
And he does a lot of portraits of young Black men. And I love his portraits because they just show them in a very vulnerable light. Like, for example, he has a portrait called Closed. It's on a pink background, and you see it's young Black man with his eyes closed, almost like he's about to cry. Or you can see another portrait where you see a Black man with some butterflies. So it's nothing I've ever seen, because usually, when it comes to Black men, it's all about the hyper masculinity, and him is like totally the contrary. And because at the moment there's a big conversation going around about toxic masculinity, I'm thinking his art is like an answer to that. He's a boy, and he told me, in this interview, that a lot of people ask him, but yo man, why are you playing butterflies and birds? And he was like, because I like them, simple as that. And all this sensibility that kind of shows in his art. So they are my favorite pieces, hands down.
Okay. All right. So at least normally when I ask people about their art and which is favorite, people go, no, I can't say, but I am glad that you have a favorite one. So I will go back onto the website and check out that piece of art. So what's the link to the website?
So it's ayokadeco.com. It's spelled AYOKADECO, all in one word.com.
Okay, so let me just grab that again, and then I will put it in the chat for everyone, just so that they can go out and take a quick look, because it's important that we go and not just we go and support. So everyone, this is in the chat at the moment, the name of the website, and then go Google it, go find it, take a look at the artwork, because it's important. It's important that we support the artwork, we support the artists, and the only way we can actually do that is by buying the art. And real quickly before we go, now recently I've been speaking to a few artists, and one of the things they started talking about is art investment. And do you think that we as a community should start looking at not just within our own art, but art generally, to start buying and start investing in that area?
Oh, yes, definitely. And, because the great thing about Black art, for example, is that if you're not familiar with all types of art, it can be your entry point. For me, I started, by going to a Black art exhibitions, and then I started going, mainstream ones, and I discovered other artists. Like, one of my favorite non-Black artists is Jeff Koons. I love his work because it's so joyful, childish. So, and you can use organizations or platforms like mine to kind of know what your taste is, because it's all great to talk about investing in art, but first of all, you need to know what you like. You need to know what you like, and then you need to know about the art world a little bit. So a great entry point is my platform. You go there, you kind of hone your taste, know what you like, and then start exploring, and then start, buying. But the thing is, when you're investing into art, it's because it's very difficult to read the art market. So I would say my first advice would be to get something that really talks to you.
Mm-hmm.
Find an artist that really talks to you. And if you like it, don't even like question yourself why you like it that much. But if you like it so much that you're ready to pay £1,000 for it, there's a good chance that other people are thinking the same thing. So first of all, please just hone your taste, then find an artist you like and just start collecting them because you like them, not because you're thinking, oh, in 10 years, going to make me $1 million. So just follow your taste and read a lot. There's a lot of resources out there. You have Art News, you have a great website called Contemporary at N, which is edited by 2 Black women. So you have a lot of resources. Just go there, browse, read, find some stuff that you like that you can afford and just start from there.
Okay, awesome. Now, we're coming up to the roundup. We have your website, but how can people connect to you on social media? Because we know social media is the way now. So how can people find you and your website?
So we are on Facebook, Instagram, on Twitter with the same handle, which is Ayoka Deco. So AYOKADECO. So it's the same handle across all platforms. So you can reach us there, send us a message, tell us that you love the art, that you love the artist. Usually we're very quick to respond. And most of the time it's me responding myself. So just drop us a note if you like something, or even, if there's an artist that you've noticed somewhere that you like, that you think should be on the platform, then just let us know.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. So this is how we find you. This is how we connect. And I'm going to say to all the ladies listening in and to you, Alice, thank you so much for your time, for taking this 40 minutes to catch up with us and talk to us about your art, your platform, and the artists that you work with.
It was a pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me. And you had some great questions, so I really enjoyed the conversation.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. All right, ladies, it's a wrap. So thank you so much. Oh, we have Stella goes, thank you, Alice and Lillian. Great conversation. Thank you, Stella. Thank you for listening and enjoying this.
Thank you, everyone. It was great having you.
All right, so I'm going to stop the recording now. And if you have a couple more questions for Alice, you can still throw it in.